Gene Deal just broke his silence, and what he's revealing is absolutely insane. Remember that Netflix documentary about Diddy that everyone's been talking about? Well, the footage Gene Deal collected was too controversial for Netflix. They couldn't show it. But here's the thing. Gene's about to leak every single piece of evidence that 50 Cent had to censor. And trust me, this is going to change everything you thought you knew. Look, I know you clicked on this video because you want the real story, the uncensored truth, and that's exactly what you're going to get. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard who saw everything firsthand, finally did an interview, and he's not holding back anymore. Here's what you need to understand. Gene was supposed to be in the Netflix documentary. He talked with 50 Cent for 45 minutes. They had plans, but then something went wrong. The director disrespected him, and Gene walked away. Now he's revealing all the stories that didn't make the cut. You're going to discover the real story behind the City College tragedy, the truth about Anthony Wolf Jones, what really happened with Kim Porter, and why A-list celebrities paid to stay out of this documentary. Everything 50 Cent couldn't show you is about to be revealed right here, right now. So let's get into it. All right, before we dive into the leaked information, you need to understand what happened behind the scenes, because this is wild. 50 Cent and Netflix just released this documentary called Sean Combs: The Reckoning. It hit #1 on Netflix immediately. Everyone's watching it, everyone's talking about it. But here's what they're not telling you. This documentary left out some of the most important stories. Gene Deal was Diddy's bodyguard for years. This man witnessed everything. The parties, the violence, the business deals, the tragedies, everything. He's been collecting footage and evidence for years, just waiting for the right moment to tell the truth. Now, Gene initially wanted to be part of 50 Cent's documentary. He believed in the project. He thought this was finally going to be the moment where the real story came out. But then he met with the director, a woman named Alex Stapleton. And let me tell you, that meeting did not go well.
It don't even sound, I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, you got, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I was like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and go out of this documentary.
Gene wanted to do this right. He tried to put together a package deal with two other guys who knew Diddy from the beginning, Tim and Kirk Burrows. These three men could have told the complete story, from Diddy's childhood, to the street stuff, to the business empire, everything. Gene asked for $50,000 for all three of them as a package. That's fair, right? Especially when you consider the value of the footage and evidence they had. But here's where it gets messy. Alex Stapleton, the director, told Gene something shocking. She said 50 Cent doesn't determine what goes in the documentary. He doesn't control who gets paid. She basically said 50's name is just being used for promotion, but he doesn't actually have power over the project. Gene felt completely disrespected. He had invoices showing what other documentaries had paid him. He showed her proof, but she called him a liar. Can you imagine? This man risked his life protecting Diddy, witnessed actual crimes, collected evidence for years, and the director treated him like he was making things up. And here's the crazy part. While Gene was trying to negotiate a fair deal for everyone, Kirk Burrows was making secret side deals. That's how the industry works, right? Everyone's looking out for themselves. Gene was trying to help everyone get paid fairly, but Kirk was cutting his own deal behind the scenes. So Gene walked away. He refused to participate. And that's why the documentary you watched on Netflix feels incomplete, because the man who knew the most refused to be part of it. But now, he's ready to tell you everything they left out. Let's start with something the documentary barely touched: how Bad Boy Records was really structured. Because this is important. This explains everything. Kirk Burrows, one of the guys I just mentioned, owned 25% of Bad Boy Records from the very beginning. Diddy owned the other 75%. But here's the twist. It was all under his mother's name, Janice Combs. Why would Diddy do that? Why not put the company in his own name? Gene Deal knows exactly why. It was a scheme to avoid legal liability. See, Diddy knew he was going to be sued after the City College tragedy. We'll get to that story in a minute, but just know, 9 people died at an event Diddy organized. Their families were going to sue. So Diddy made sure the company wasn't in his name. Smart, right? Evil, but smart. But then Diddy decided he wanted Kirk's 25% too. According to Kirk's own testimony in the documentary, Diddy showed up with a baseball bat. He threatened Kirk's life, forced him to sign over his stake in the company. Kirk tried to sue in 2003, but the case got thrown out because too much time had passed. Think about that. Kirk co-founded Bad Boy Records. He did the work. He built the company alongside Diddy. And then Diddy took everything from him with violence and threats. Kirk ended up homeless at one point. Meanwhile, Diddy became a billionaire off the company they built together. The documentary mentioned this story, but they didn't go deep enough. Gene Deal could have explained the whole scheme. He could have shown how Diddy used his mother's name to hide money and avoid lawsuits. But none of that made it into the final cut. I wonder why.
Well, what I feel about the documentary, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was gonna do something and they're gonna say in the reckoning of Sean Combs, the reckoning, or Diddy, the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big. It wasn't only Tupac, you understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in. You got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception as doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis.
Now this is where it gets really dark. Gene Deal says there's a whole murder story that the documentary completely ignored. And I'm talking about Anthony Wolf Jones. Wolf was Bad Boy's head of security from day one. This man was there before Clive Davis, before the record deals, before any of it. He was one of Diddy's most loyal soldiers. He knew everything, and I mean everything. Where the bodies were buried, who got paid off, what really happened at those parties. Wolf knew it all. And according to Gene Deal, Diddy's actions directly led to Wolf's murder. Now, Gene says the documentary team didn't have the intel to tell this story properly. They didn't do the investigation. They didn't have the evidence. Or maybe they did, and they chose not to use it. Wolf was killed by someone associated with BMF. That's Black Mafia Family, one of the biggest criminal organizations in hip-hop history. And Gene is saying there's a direct connection between Wolf's death and Diddy. But the documentary barely mentioned Wolf at all. They showed a few pictures, said he was security, and moved on. Why? Because this story is too dangerous. It involves real criminals, real murders, real organized crime. Netflix didn't want to touch it. 50 Cent probably didn't want to touch it either. But Gene Deal is saying this story needs to be told. Wolf's death wasn't random. It was connected to everything else.
It was Puff, Heavy D, and Jessica. You know what I'm saying? Jessica was the reason why those kids lost their life, because she locked the door on those kids running down the step. You understand? You could see her name in a news article, but they didn't mention nothing about her taking place, but they try to put Heavy D, God bless the dead, out there, and they put Puff out there. You know what I'm saying? She should have been the main one, because she is the one who locked the door on the kids. You understand? She is the one who locked the door on the kids, and all those kids lost their life.
All right, this next story is going to make you angry. Because the documentary told you about the City College tragedy, but they didn't tell you the whole truth. Gene Deal was actually there that night. He witnessed everything, and what he's revealing changes the entire story. December 28th, 1991. Diddy organized this celebrity basketball game at City College in New York. It was supposed to be this huge charity event. Heavy D was involved, all the big celebrities were coming. Mike Tyson, LL Cool J, everyone. The place was packed. Now, Gene Deal's security team was originally hired to handle the outside. He had 18 men ready to go. They had dogs, Rottweilers, pit bulls. They had gates set up. They had a whole system to control the crowd. Gene knew how people get in Harlem when celebrities show up. He was prepared. But the day before the event, Diddy came to Gene and said Heavy D didn't want his security team there anymore. They were fired. Just like that. No outside security. So the night of the event, chaos broke out. Thousands of people were trying to get in. When Mike Tyson and LL Cool J walked through the front door instead of the back, the crowd went crazy. They rushed the entrance. People were being crushed in the stairwell. Now here's the part the documentary didn't tell you. There was a woman named Jessica Rosenblum. She was one of the promoters alongside Diddy and Heavy D. When Jessica saw the crowd surging, she panicked. But she wasn't worried about the people. She was worried about the money box, all the cash from ticket sales. Gene says Jessica grabbed the money and locked the door at the bottom of the stairs. She locked it to protect the cash. And when she locked that door, she trapped hundreds of people in that stairwell. 9 people died, 9 kids, crushed to death, because someone locked a door to protect money. Gene couldn't get down the stairs because of the crowd. He had to run around the entire gymnasium, come in from another entrance, and start opening doors from the inside. By the time he got there, kids were already dead. He performed CPR on a 17-year-old boy. The kid died anyway. The boy's older brother was there, crying, saying, "This is the first time I ever took my little brother anywhere. My mama's gonna kill me." Gene Deal witnessed all of this. He knows exactly what happened. He knows who locked that door. But Jessica Rosenblum was never held accountable. Her name appears in old news articles, but that's it. No charges, no consequences, nothing. The documentary mentioned the City College tragedy, but they focused on Diddy and Heavy D. They never talked about Jessica. They never explained why Gene's security team was fired. They never told you that someone locked a door to protect cash while 9 people died. Gene could have told this story in the documentary. He tried to, but it didn't make the cut. And you have to ask yourself, let's talk about why Gene really walked away from this documentary. Because the drama behind the scenes is just as crazy as the stories he's trying to tell. Gene set up this whole package deal, right? Him, Tim, and Kirk Burrows. 3 guys who knew Diddy from different angles. Tim knew about the childhood and the early years. Kirk knew about the business side. Gene knew about the streets, the violence, the security stuff. Together, they could have told the complete story. But then, Alex Stapleton, the director, started acting strange. She told Gene that what he was asking for was crazy money. She said they weren't spending that kind of budget. Gene showed her invoices from other documentaries that had paid him similar amounts. He had proof, but she dismissed it. Then she said something that really bothered Gene. She told him that 50 Cent doesn't determine what goes in the documentary. 50 doesn't control who gets paid. She made it clear that 50's name was just being used for promotion, but he didn't actually have creative control. Now think about that. They're marketing this as 50 Cent's documentary about Diddy. They're using his rivalry with Diddy to promote the show. But behind the scenes, 50 doesn't actually control what gets included? That's wild. Gene felt disrespected. He's been telling these stories for years on his own platform. He has actual evidence, footage, pictures, documents, and this director is treating him like he's not important. Meanwhile, Kirk Burrows was making his own side deals. He was calling Gene, trying to pressure him to take less money. But Gene found out Kirk was negotiating his own separate contract behind everyone's back. That's the industry, man. Everyone's out for themselves. So Gene told them all to forget it. He walked away. And that's why the documentary feels incomplete. That's why so many important stories got left out. The man with the most knowledge refused to participate because he was treated poorly. Here's something that really bothers people who watch the documentary. They barely mentioned Kim Porter. Diddy's ex-girlfriend, mother of his children, died suddenly in 2018. She was only 47 years old. Officially, they said it was pneumonia. But a lot of people have questions about what really happened. Kim Porter knew everything about Diddy. She was with him for years. She saw the parties, the business deals, the violence, everything. And then she dies suddenly. And the documentary doesn't really address it? Multiple sources have said the documentary deliberately avoided the Kim Porter story. It's too sensitive, too controversial, maybe even too dangerous. But Gene Deal has information about what really happened. He knew Kim. He protected her at times. He knows things. But none of that made it into the documentary. They showed a few pictures of Kim, mentioned she was the mother of his kids, and moved on. For someone who is such a huge part of Diddy's life, she deserved more attention. Unless there's a reason they wanted to avoid that story. Let's talk about something suspicious. Diddy threw parties for decades. Huge parties with A-list celebrities. Actors, musicians, athletes, politicians, everyone went to Diddy's parties. That was the whole thing about him. He knew everyone. He had connections everywhere. So why doesn't the documentary show any of these celebrities? Why aren't there stories about what happened at those parties? You're telling me Diddy hosted hundreds of freak-offs and not a single celebrity was ever involved? Come on. Gene Deal believes that A-list celebrities paid 50 Cent to keep them out of the documentary. Think about it. These people have careers to protect, families, reputations. If their names got attached to Diddy's crimes, their lives would be ruined, so they paid. And 50 Cent took the money. Because at the end of the day, 50 is a businessman. He's not trying to destroy other people's careers. He just wanted to expose Diddy. But that means the documentary isn't telling the whole story. It's telling a sanitized version, a version that protects powerful people while throwing Diddy under the bus. And Gene sees right through it.
Marlon, have you seen that the documentary, the 50 Cent
No, I
documentary
haven't seen it yet.
for Diddy?
I haven't seen it.
Oh man, you working
Everybody
hard.
telling me you got to see it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
Part of me don't want to see it
you probably don't.
because it's all skewed, man. Like when you put stuff together, you create whatever narratives you want to, and at the end of the day, everybody being programmed. You know, right now the man's serving time.
Right.
You know, he went before the court. The court said this, and everything is God. But God said this is what he got to do. He got to do 5 years in pen. Let him do his 5 years.
Speaking of celebrities staying quiet, check out what Marlon Wayans said about the documentary. Someone asked him if he'd watched it, and his response was very interesting. Marlon said he hasn't seen it and probably won't watch it. Then he said something that caught everyone's attention. He called it a narrative. He said when you put stuff together, you can create whatever story you want. Everybody's being programmed, he said. Now, why would Marlon say that? Is he defending Diddy? Or is he calling out the documentary for being biased? Or maybe, and this is what a lot of people think, Marlon has his own experiences with Diddy that he doesn't want to talk about. There have been rumors for years about Marlon and Diddy. Nothing confirmed, just whispers in the industry. And when Marlon refuses to watch the documentary and starts talking about narratives and programming, it makes you wonder, what does he know? Gene Deal probably has information about Marlon too, about a lot of celebrities, but none of them wanted their stories told, so they stayed out of it.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day, perhaps.
Now, let's talk about the most controversial part of this whole documentary, the footage, the behind-the-scenes videos of Diddy before his arrest. Where did 50 Cent get that footage? The documentary shows Diddy in his hotel room in New York, talking to his lawyer on speakerphone. He's discussing strategy, complaining about the media, trying to figure out what to do. This is intimate footage, private conversations. Diddy had hired a videographer to film him during this time. Maybe he thought he was going to make his own documentary later. Maybe he just wanted a record of everything. Whatever the reason, someone was following him with a camera. But here's the problem. That footage belonged to Diddy. The videographer was working for him. There were NDAs signed, contracts in place, and somehow 50 Cent got his hands on it. Diddy's lawyers immediately sent a cease and desist to Netflix. They called it stolen footage that was never authorized for release. They demanded Netflix pull the entire documentary. Netflix responded by saying they obtained the footage legally, but they won't say how. 50 Cent won't say where it came from. The videographer hasn't spoken publicly. So what really happened? Did the videographer sell the footage because Diddy never paid him? That's one theory. Gene mentions in his interview that Diddy has a pattern of not paying people. Maybe the videographer was another victim who decided to get revenge. Or did 50 Cent pay someone to steal it? Is this footage actually illegal? We don't know, but it's definitely shady, and it raises questions about everything else in the documentary. Gene Deal has first-hand experience with Diddy's violence, and one of the stories he tells is about protecting Misa Hilton, the mother of Diddy's first son, Justin. After Gene stopped working for Diddy, Misa asked him to be her bodyguard. She wanted to go out, to live her life, but she was scared of Diddy. She knew what he was capable of. Gene charged her $2,250 for a couple hours of protection, and he made it clear to her, if Diddy shows up and sees you with me, he won't do anything. Diddy knows who Gene is. He knows Gene isn't scared of him. The documentary includes a story from Eric Sermon, the rapper and producer. Eric talks about a time when he was in a car with Misa, and Diddy showed up and attacked her. Diddy swung on Misa right there in the street, in front of Eric. Eric said Diddy invited him to come around the corner and fight, but Eric didn't do anything. He just went to listen to music instead. Gene thinks that's wild. He says if he had been there, if someone was in his car and Diddy attacked them, he would have protected them, no matter who it was. Gene confirms that Diddy had a serious problem with violence against women. Everyone knew it. It wasn't a secret in the industry. But people looked the other way because Diddy was powerful and rich. The documentary showed the video of Diddy attacking Cassie in that hotel hallway. Everyone was shocked. But Gene's saying this behavior wasn't new. He'd been doing this for decades. The only difference is that video got leaked. So after all of this, what does Gene Deal actually think of the documentary? He watched it, he studied it, he took notes. And his verdict is pretty harsh. Gene says it's old news. Everything in the documentary, people in the industry already knew. The freak-offs, the violence, the control, the manipulation, none of it was new information. It was just packaged nicely for mainstream audiences. The only new thing was that behind-the-scenes footage of Diddy before his arrest. That was interesting. Seeing him talk to his lawyers, seeing him stress about the media, seeing him try to figure out his next move, that was valuable. But everything else? Gene says you watch it once and you're done. There's no reason to go back and watch it again. Nothing shocking enough, nothing deep enough. And Gene knows this because he could have made it better. He could have provided the depth, the real stories, the actual evidence, but they didn't want that. They wanted a safe documentary that would get views on Netflix without actually putting anyone important in danger. The documentary blamed everything on Diddy, made him look like the only monster in the industry. But Gene knows the truth. There are a lot of monsters. A lot of people who knew what was happening and did nothing. A lot of people who participated and got away with it. But those people aren't in the documentary. Their names were protected. Their secrets stayed secret. And that's why Gene calls it incomplete. Look, here's the thing you need to understand. Gene Deal has been telling these stories for years, long before Netflix got involved, long before 50 Cent decided to make a documentary. Gene has been on podcasts, on YouTube, on his own channels, telling the truth about what he witnessed. Now I want to hear from you. What story shocked you the most? What do you think 50 Cent should have included in the documentary? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation about this. I'll see you in the next one. Stay aware out there.